What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Unfiltered. Today I'm here with Nazis, Jamal, and we're here with special guest Nilly. I'm going to let Nilly introduce herself. Her resume is pretty extensive, so I want to let her do justice to that.
Okay, so I really don't know where to start with this, but so I majored in computer science from UIC, all you DePaul people.
Go Blue Demons.
I was going to mention that before, too. And I work in Northwestern. I'm a systems analyst in IT. I've done a TED Talk. And I also am a human trafficking prevention educator for Shared Hope International. It's basically we talk about how to prevent human trafficking, just the prevention part of it, and how to know the signs of a victim that is possibly being trafficked.
Cool, yeah. It's a lot of dope work that you do.
I have a question.
Man,
How does it feel
alright.
working at Northwestern but going to UIC? Like you went to UIC but then you work at Northwestern. There's like a difference? Do you see it like on campus or anything? Like
Oh yeah, for sure. It's more of like UIC was a commuter school.
yeah.
I commuted my whole 4 years, so I love that life. It's more of a city life, whereas in Evanston, Northwestern, it's calm. Everyone's just chill. It's more of a slow pace, in my opinion, coming from the city,
Yeah.
being there for 4 years.
That makes sense.
But yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right, was I take it
Jamal,
away?
you got any other questions, man?
No, man. I was just curious.
All right, for sure. Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a lot of Jamal highlighted, a lot of different experiences to get to where you are today. But today we're going to talk about toxic environments and just the effect toxic environments have on you as a person, and maybe the effects it has on like your relationships and your mental health, stuff like that. Really continuing on the mental health conversation we've been having the last couple of weeks. So Nilly, I want to start with you and just ask you, like, what do you think like defines a toxic environment? What are some traits that are like telltale signs of something being a toxic environment?
I think the number one thing is your mental health is you don't feel good. You feel drained most of the time. I think that's the number one key thing when you think of a toxic environment. You're just drained all the time. You don't feel well. You feel like you're constantly being attacked, even if it's not as a parent. Yeah.
Cheers.
Should we define toxicity? Like what is it? Like
yeah, well,
what
like,
is a
what could
toxic
be a
environment?
toxic examples of it maybe?
Yeah,
like
and we were talking
signs?
about like our friendships, like friend
Okay.
circles, maybe relationships with family.
Yeah.
Like to me, I think a toxic environment is it's just like a negative environment where like you're not being uplifted and supported in the things you think about, care about, passionate about. Anyone else?
Yeah, dude, I think that's a good start to it. I think it's definitely a toxic environment is somewhere where I feel like you can't be yourself. And not for just the reason that you're afraid of being judged, but just because you don't feel comfortable being yourself. And to that extent, I feel like what you brought up with like your relationships, I feel like toxic environments really impact your growth as a person.
Oh yeah. For
Facts.
sure.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. I was going to say a toxic environment would be a place where you can't grow as a person. You know, you're kind of stuck in that little rut and you feel you can't get out of it. Yeah, I feel like that's one of the biggest like signs of a toxic environment.
Yeah. For me, okay, so what I was wanting to focus on was toxic signs in a friendship.
Yeah.
So one was like, again, you feel drained. If you're fine, if you're happy, you're energetic, and then you go to see this person and you come back
Yeah.
tired. And
I
you're
know what
just
you mean.
like, why did I even go see this person?
Yeah, and you end up regretting it, questioning it.
Exactly. And you're like, that was such a waste of my time.
Yeah.
That, and then another one is I feel this on a personal level is gossiping. I can't be around that. I think that's more of a trigger for me for a toxic environment, being a girl, because I feel like other girls do that more.
Yeah.
So I feel like if I hear a lot of gossip around me, I just kind of feel like
I know
like
it's
this
like
could be me if I wasn't here. You know, so they could have been easily talking about me.
it just doesn't feel right like when you're there.
It really
Yeah.
doesn't. And like another toxic trait, a trait I think that I see in friendships a lot is people, the jealousy aspect, but also they feel like they have a claim or right over you. I
Yeah.
don't know if like you've seen
I actually
this
have
with-
seen that a lot. Yeah.
Whereas especially with girls, I don't know about guys. I can't speak for you guys, but like for girls, it's just like, how could you talk to her? How could you interact?
Yeah,
like,
it's
they
like-
need to control that narrative of like who you talk to, how you interact with. It's just it's toxic.
You know, I've also noticed like in that same little group, like if you hang out with like without like one specific person, like you'll get called out for it. I know I said this on my other episode, but like this has happened. Yeah, just like you talking to other people without like their permission almost, you know? And it feels like there's that clique leader. It's like very toxic.
Yeah.
On that note, like where do you guys sit down and like draw the line and be like, you can't please everyone? You know what I mean? Like you should be able to hang out with whoever you want to hang out
That's
with.
true, but I
and
feel like
as
that's-
Masani's mic just fell on him.
Yeah, right?
Okay, wait, go on.
I'm gonna figure it out though. Intermission not needed.
I feel like that's just something that a lot of girls, especially in like these friend groups, that they haven't noticed. What about you, Nilly? What do you think? Like that whole, you can't please everybody.
I mean, that's the whole point of a toxic like friendship.
Yeah.
If you're in a healthy friendship, they're okay with you hanging out with other people.
Mm-hmm.
They're okay with you being close with someone that maybe they're not particularly fond of.
Yeah.
They're just mature about it. I think that shows a maturity. If
But that's the whole
kinda,
point of this. Like they don't get it. That's
Yeah.
just not
yeah,
what it is for them.
Yeah.
I think when it comes to like friendships, right, you have like your inner circle, you have a little bit of a broader circle, and then you have like that tertiary circle, like a wider circle. And when it comes to like this, like what you guys are talking about now, do you think your friends like know where they fall within like their circles when it comes to you? Like your friends know if they're in your inner circle or not, or they know you're like they're like not super tight with you, and does that affect like the way you guys go about your friendship or relationship?
I feel like with some people it really doesn't matter. Like, you know, they'll take it as it is. Or it's like, okay, I'm not close to that person. Like, that's just how it is. They don't care much. But there are other people who definitely, like, take extra offense to it. You know, like, make these little passive-aggressive comments here and there. I've noticed that a lot. Passive-aggressiveness is a huge sign of toxicity, too.
For sure.
What do you mean by passive aggressive? Like, can you give an example?
Like, these little comments that they would make, like, you'd think that they're harmless, but there's always, like, a double meaning to it. I've noticed that a lot. And it's gotten like way beyond just like, you know, it starts with that, you know, it starts with that little passive aggressive comment and then just like goes from there.
Yeah. Something that I've noticed, at least as a guy, is that like there are people that I don't know if you guys have had this where like they'll be not in your inner circle. They're not really, you don't really talk to them that much. They're not your closest friend, but they expect like for you to treat them on a pedestal. And I guess you were talking about this a little bit, right? Like put them on a pedestal compared to like your other friends and people that you talk to on a daily basis and do a lot for you. How do you guys mitigate those friendships and those relationships? I guess that's like, is that toxicity? Is that what you would define as toxicity? Yeah.
I feel like, again, that's just like maturity level. I have people that aren't that close to me, but they want to be treated as if they're a very close friend, or they expect me to drop all my other friendships for them because they're not okay with these people. And I'm like, again, like, where do you fit in this?
Yeah.
So what do you do then? Do you just drop them? Like, what's the next step?
This person I've actually had a conversation with 2-3 times, and they've brought again and again saying, you know, I'm not okay with this person. I don't like you hanging out with this person. I'm just like, where do you fall in my life for you to say this to me? But I mean, at that point, it's just kind of like people don't pick up on social cues. You know, they don't understand. You're really not in that circle. And I have a very tight circle, so for someone, I wanted to talk about the word best friend.
Yeah, let's go for it.
It's thrown around to a point where you're like, what does that even mean? So for me, if I am being friends with someone and if I'm meeting someone for the first time and they say they have a lot of best friends or they call everybody their best friends, that to me is like a trigger. Like
that's a red flag.
Yeah. That's just, exactly. I know, I'm like, okay, clearly they're not, you cannot have that many best friends.
Yeah. You can only have like one or two, right?
And they're not the best. Like, what does that mean?
Yeah, okay.
So when someone says that to me is like a red flag, like saying, okay, this is a possibly toxic person.
This is awkward because I think I have a lot of best friends, and I'm sitting here in this conversation.
You have way too many best
I think
friends.
I have a lot of great, awesome, close friends. Yeah.
Close friends, but you can't call everybody your best friend.
Yeah, I don't call them my best friends, but I have a lot of. I don't think I have a best friend.
That's also fair. Yeah, you can have a lot of close
is that like
friends.
is that fair enough? But I have like a lot of close
but
friends.
That term like best friends is just like thrown around so loosely.
Yeah.
Is basically the issue at hand.
Well, Simon, let me let you chime in. I feel like you've been quiet.
Dude, you guys are just going at it. There's that comment about like girl rushes and stuff. I'm like, I'm just gonna sit here.
Go ahead.
Let me know.
I just wanted to go back to the idea of like your first off, very big word usage right there, Jamal. Tertiary. Very impressive.
Bro, I was thinking about it, dude. I'm like, it came out. I'm sorry.
Very, very impressive. I'm so proud of you, man.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
But going back to like the idea, right? Like you do have friends that like you're obviously closer with, and then there's like the other people that you'll see like, you know, once every other week, once a month, whatever, and then the people like you'll occasionally see. And I feel like you guys are really touching on an important aspect of toxicity is people that are controlling. And I feel like you see controlling people in different aspects of your life, whether it be controlling or manipulative. And I feel like as individuals, sometimes we feel like we don't want to put that label on someone. Like you never want to label someone controlling, right? Like think about any relationships you've been in, whether it be friendships or whatnot. And if your other friends tell you so-and-so is controlling, I feel like I've heard that before, but I haven't taken it personally right away. Like, oh, no, you don't know that person like I do.
Exactly.
So I think that's one thing with toxicity is that you can see it, and I feel like you guys have all touched on this. You see it, but while you're inside that relationship, you have very rose-colored glasses on.
I think that's where it's important that you have like really good friends around you, because not only should you have friends that uplift you and support you, you should have friends that should be able to tell you like, yo, like even like tell you what you don't want to hear, like, yo, you're in a toxic friendship with someone. Like,
but do you always trust them? Like when you heard something in your life
Yeah.
about someone else, like say someone you're close to, right? Do you always believe that third party on the outside?
I feel like you have to if you trust them and you consider them a close friend to you. Like literally the first category of a friend for me is like they're trustworthy and they're honest, right?
Yeah.
If you're not that, you can't be my friend at all. You
Yeah,
know,
I
so
agree.
if I trust someone and they're telling me something, it's coming from somewhere good.
I feel like it's not always easy.
I feel
though.
like it depends.
It's
on the
definitely not
person.
easy,
It
yeah.
definitely depends. Like, I don't know. Sometimes even the most trustworthy of people can like, they come off as very trustworthy at first, and then you dig deeper, you find out that they're really not. I feel like that
Yeah.
happens a lot with girls, at least. But that's why I feel like it's really hard to figure out whether you can trust that third party or not.
Yeah.
Whether you should
Mhm.
believe them or not.
I'm gonna tell you guys a story, only because like this all just brings back a story. This is my freshman year at DePaul, right? So Jamal, like I didn't know you at this point, so neither of us even knew we went to DePaul. But I was friends with this one person from high school, and I was friends with this one person because like my friendship with them at DePaul. So like let's say person A is from high school, person B is from DePaul. Person B was telling me all these bad things that person A said about me in order to get me to like drop person A. And in that moment, person B was very smart with what they did because they told me like partial truths and then added their own spin at the end to it, right? Which led me to believe like, well, you wouldn't even know the partial truth unless that first person that said it to you. So in the end, like I feel like toxicity is also in that environment where I knew there were so many red flags around person B, and so many people in my circle had told me like don't believe it, whatever. But I feel like my emotions really took control of me in that aspect. That even though I had all this common sense and I had knowledge from multiple people, I still was like, man, you would have known all this unless the first person said it. And that really like severed my relationship with the first person. Because it's like, how could you have said all that about me, et cetera, et cetera. And for me, that situation was only resolved because we sat down and had a conversation about it later. And it was definitely a very explosive conversation. I think you guys know by now, like I wear my emotions on my sleeve very often. So having to sit in that conversation, like I definitely was very explosive at the start. But once we got to the end of it, I was like, damn, like person B really just played me to get what they wanted out of it. So I feel like it's easy to say that you wouldn't consider everything people are saying, but it's so hard when you're in the moment.
That's true. Yeah, I actually respect that. That's true. Nilly, what do you think about that?
I think when you said that as a friend, like you need someone that's trustworthy, I agree, but I feel like that trustworthy can also be mixed with someone who's just well-intended.
True.
Like they could have good intentions for you, but that doesn't mean they're right.
Facts.
So
yeah.
if
That's
someone
very
says,
true.
hey, this person isn't right, whatever it may be, you have to like think, okay, sometimes when people are in friendships, two people are toxic for each other, but they're fine with other people. So
You're
in
right,
that
yeah.
case, they may be toxic to other people, but they're fine. That's just because, whatever their equation is, they grew up together and they just have different expectations of each other, whatever it may be. But to someone new that they're building a friendship with, they're building a friendship based on who they've evolved as a person now versus who they were when they're 5 years old, and that's continued. So
True.
in that way, someone could just have good intentions for you, but they don't.
That doesn't mean they're right.
So
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I feel like that's a really good segue to another part of our conversation. Nilly, you're the only one here that's like out of college. Like Jamal and I are still very babies in this journey, but in terms of like your journey through like high school, college, and now like being a postgraduate, being a professional, like how do you feel like toxic environments have developed for you? Like has that definition changed through time?
Oh yeah, for sure. So in high school, for example, it's a whole different clique. I think it's a whole different toxic environment just because you've grown up with these people most of the time, elementary, middle school to high school. So you've known these people since they were very young, and that's the same vision you have of them.
Because you're kind of like stuck with them.
Yeah,
almost,
because like even if they're older and they're doing other things, in your head, you still know this person as someone who like hit you with a dodgeball, whatever it may be. It could be just like little like mini aggressions that have like continued. So it's more clicking that way because a lot of the friends you make in high school, they're all demographically based. They're just there because you're in their class, you live next to each other, you're on the bus at all times, whatever it may be. So in that way, it's just you're friends with them.
They weren't chosen. They were just there.
Yeah, they were
just there. Yeah.
Exactly. Whereas in college, it's still kind of like that, but I feel like you can pick more. You're evolving as a person. You're figuring out where you are spiritually in your life, career path. People are trying to find their spouses. Like you're evolving. So the people you're friends with freshman year may not be the same people you're friends with the next year. So in that way, you can kind of get out of a clique and enter like a different friendship if needed. So it's less toxic in that way. And then post-grad, it's completely, I feel like this is why you need to really focus on the friendships you make in college, because you're not going to have a lot of time to create a lot of friendships outside of college. I thankfully did still end up making you feel. Anna was actually someone I met after college, but and she's honestly, I could say one of my best friends.
Oh,
But
Shout out Anna.
Shout out
that's
Anna.
sweet.
and she's not even here, but it's okay. But no, I think with post grad, you're less likely to be in a toxic environment because you're so busy with so many things that if you are going to make time to see someone, you have to make sure they're good for you.
You know, like if
Yeah.
it's the right
Exactly.
person. Yeah.
Like, you want to make sure this is a good positive influence in your life, your mind, your health, whatever it may be,
Yeah.
because you honestly do not have time to just sit around and, pass time before class or something. It's not the same in that way.
Dude, on that note, I do want to ask a follow-up question because I think you bring up a lot of good points. So Jamal Naseer, feel free to answer too. But what is your take then on people that are still stuck in high school? Because we all know people like that
Yeah.
that are either like they still have their same high school friends, they're still stuck in the same like things that they used to do, and they haven't like grown as a person. Like, what is your take on when you meet them as a person?
I don't think there's anything wrong with being stuck in high school. I don't think that doesn't mean you didn't grow as a person. I think being open to or realizing what Nilly just said about like there's more opportunity and that you need to really gauge like how your friendships are, if they're toxic, if they're
Wait, I have a
not.
question. Did you
Yeah.
say there's nothing wrong with being
There's
stuck
nothing
in high-
wrong.
There's nothing
Like,
wrong
with being
with
stuck-
in high school?
For being because
You think
just
so?
because you're I mean I'm still friends with a lot of people I went to high school with. I went to Maine
That's different.
South.
I
No,
think-
no,
are you
that's
stuck in
stuck
high
in
school?
that
Are
high
you
school
stuck
Stuck in high
mindset,
school
or
as
are
in-
you like that?
Like that mindset.
Like,
Yeah.
bro, are you still going to high school football games? Like, you're living out the best 4 years of
Wait,
your
no,
life?
what do you mean? Those are two.
Like,
You guys are saying two
like,
different
having
things.
your high school friends is different rather than
Yeah.
being stuck in high school.
What does being stuck in high school mean?
Like, that was the best
Click.
4 years of your life,
Click.
and that's the
Yeah,
same
like,
click
yeah.
you're gonna
Very
have,
clicky.
and you haven't grown. Like,
Yeah.
you're still kind of living out those 4 years.
Like having friends from high school, like that's normal. I'm
Yeah.
still friends with a bunch
Yeah.
of people from high school.
Exactly,
But,
yeah.
But being stuck in high school is like completely different than that. Like you're still choosing to be with those friends, but
Yeah.
like he said, it's like more of like a click thing.
I mean, I think a click thing even exists in college. I think like for me personally, right? My sophomore junior year, I was part of PSA. Senior year, I was part of like a lot of those friends that I made in those organizations are still my really close friends to this day. And I think even that could be said as a click. You know what I'm saying? So I think no matter what phase of life you're in, and even post grad, like when you're working a 9 to 5, like people you work with are gonna end up being like some of them are gonna end up being
Yeah.
friends with you. It's a click. So I think clickiness is just something in human nature. It's something that just happens, and it's something that we need to keep an open mind to and be conscious of and realize that like we are doing this and that we shouldn't just be zoned in and focus on like these certain groups of people.
No,
I think it
that's-
starts in high school, but I think it carries on the rest of your
I
life
think
as
it's
well.
definitely okay to have your own cliques and your own groups, but like there's a certain toxicity that comes out of it too, and that's what you have to leave behind. And
Yeah.
that's the part that people haven't left behind, like bringing that out of high school
Yeah.
into their
The high
future.
school. Oh, so you're talking about like the high school
Yeah.
mentality of
Yeah,
like
yeah,
drama
that- like
and
that
this and
mindset.
that. Like yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with clicks. You're always
Yeah,
gonna
yeah,
have
of
clicks
course.
in
Yeah.
your life.
I think that comes
The
with growth.
word itself is
Yeah.
different.
It's like
Yeah.
a negative
Have a group that's
connotation.
different.
It's a negative
Yeah.
connotation. Yeah,
Clique
100%.
itself is they're not exclusive.
Yeah.
They'll include other people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it comes down to being aware, and then I think as you grow through high school, college, post grad, etc., you're growing and learning every single day, and you can reevaluate your friendships and look deeper into them and see like what am I actually getting out of this friendship? Is it actually good for me? And being able to do that for like every clique per se, or every group per se, and every friend per se, I think is important.
Yeah.
For
Yeah.
sure. I think that in itself though, like your idea of having like your high school friends, right? I think one thing that plagues all of us is cutting people off. Because you just said it, like you reevaluate your friendships. I think the hardest thing to do is reevaluate a friendship and then cut someone off. I feel like there's a post about it where it's like, you might have been like friends with this person since like the 6th grade, but like they still live in like their mom's basement, whatever. Versus like people that you newly meet, like you're so scared to talk to them because they're new. And I think that change is really what bothers us. But we're so used to what's comfortable. And like that person that brings no value for us and may be a toxic environment may not be good for us, but we're so scared to cut them off. What's your take on cutting people off and like freeing yourself from those toxic environments?
I think that's like the most important thing to get out of those.
It's the hardest
kind of-
thing, too.
It is hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, very hard. Easier said than done. But I think that's why it's much easier to do in college and post grad, because in high school you're there because you're demographically placed there.
Yeah,
you're
you
directly
have to be
close
there.
these people.
Yeah.
So even if you cut them off, you're gonna see them in class. You're gonna
Yeah,
see them in
yeah.
the hallways. You're gonna see them. Your friends are the same. You sit at lunch together. Whatever it may be, it's
Mhm.
much harder to actually cut off someone, and it brings in a lot more drama in
Yeah,
high school too. If you like
definitely.
cut off somebody, and then there's people can spread a lot of things, whatever it may be. So it's just more cliquey, and you kind of end up just staying in those friendships, even if they're bad for you.
Mm-hmm.
And then once you're in college, I think it's a little bit easier. I think especially better if someone goes to college without any of their previous friends with them. I feel like if if you have like a really close friend from high school that you also go to college with, you may end up restricting yourself, and just, it's almost like a Venn diagram, like their friends and your friends, like you need something that meets in the middle.
Yeah.
You can't just kind of like go do like your own thing. You have to do everything together. You're more codependent. It just restricts you in a way. So I feel you do need to kind of venture out and
Yeah, I guess for me personally, right? So I had a lot of awesome friends in high school, and they weren't Muslim, they weren't Desi or anything like that, right? But there's some awesome people. Some of them weren't, right? And I think naturally when I made that shift from high school to college, a lot of my friends got cut off like naturally because they didn't go to the same school as you. And school, as you said, was like the only thing that held us together.
Yeah.
So like once that stopped happening, like I just naturally stopped talking to a lot of people, right? But then when I went to college, I found a lot of new great friends. And what I ended up doing, I guess how it worked out in my sense, is that Venn diagram, it ended up overlapping. So a lot of my high school friends are actually in the same friend group as my friends that I have now. And and like we're all kind of growing together in a way. It's weird, but it's cool. And I don't know if you guys could relate on that at all, but I've been able to like introduce my high school friends, my friends that I met in college, and then they become friends, and then some of them are even closer than I am to them on the side. It's like it's like a whole thing.
Eventually. Yeah, no, I've seen that too.
I haven't done that
At all?
No, dude, I want my high school friends here, I want my college friends there, I want my work friends there. So if I'm annoyed at these friends, I can go with these friends. If I know those friends, I'm moving on to those friends.
Yeah, I don't keep mine separate. I don't know. It's so weird. I have everyone in the same.
Though, like if I have to, if like my high school friends are friends with my college friends, then if I'm hanging out with one, I'm hanging out with the other, right? I never have that me time. I guess that kind of be it. Like obviously it's not like that's not necessarily alone time, but it's time away from like certain people. I feel if I'm constantly seeing people, like the same people over and over again, I feel like you fall in that role of like repetition, and you may not get tired of them, but at some point, like if there is drama, like there's no way to avoid them.
Then your entire friend group is done.
Then your whole friend group is
you gotta cut everyone off.
I'm gonna ask. This might be a very uncomfortable two-part question, but one, have you had a friendship, definitely one that you consider closer to, but you figured it was toxic? Have you guys all had that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay,
I
dope.
have.
Okay, cool.
That we have.
So now, like our audience is definitely people that are around our age or younger. So I want to ask, and obviously depending on how comfortable you feel answering it, like how did you cut them off, and like what did you do to like maintain that cutoff? Because I feel like sometimes people cut each other off, but they come right back together. And that you never avoid that toxic environment. Like you might have been like, yeah, we're not texting for a month. Oh, I broke our Snapchat streak, and then 2 weeks later, you're like right back at it. It's like, did you guys cut someone off? Which just seems like you all have.
I think it takes.
I
think it takes a conscious effort of like being like, you know what, I'm just gonna. For me, it was like, for one scenario, I'm just gonna slowly just stop talking to someone.
Yeah.
Like I'm just gonna slowly stop texting them. I'm gonna slowly stop snapping them, as you said, right? Stop hanging out with them, and then like just naturally over time, like they get the social cues, as Nilly was saying earlier. Like, there's social cues, and they understand that too. And you guys just go on your separate paths and move on. That's how it's been for me.
With some people though, it's hard because sometimes they don't even get the hint. Has that ever happened with you guys?
Yeah.
Like,
I don't know what else to say.
But yeah, people don't get the hint all the time. So I mean, I've done that. I've tried to like slowly distance myself, like step by step, but it's hard to like completely like detach yourself from that.
Yeah, I feel like again, going off of what Jamal said, that would be my advice for that, is to slowly detach. Like me, I'm like a hyper happy person, so if I don't feel that way around someone, then I know like
there's something off.
That's not
what
right
I
for you.
be.
Yeah, definitely.
So for me, I like slowly detach, but in that, what I did was when I was detaching myself from certain friends, I threw myself into like different hobbies. I'm a very like creative person, so I try to do I have to like create something, make something, do whatever it may be. So I feel like whenever I felt the need to go to that person or have that like person interaction, I didn't feel the need to get it from that person or that friend.
You got it from somewhere else.
I got it through like whatever hobby I threw myself in. So once I did that, and I could finally like put myself in a mental place where I was good without them, then I went on to like, all right, so like what kind of friends am I looking for? Or, just who do I feel good around? And then I pursued that. But yeah, it was just slowly detaching. Like
I feel like that's the easiest thing to do.
Yeah. How about you, Masani?
Damn, I didn't know it was gonna come back around to me, but I definitely agree with you. I know I asked. I didn't think it'd come back around.
I'm calling you.
But yeah, I definitely agree. Some people don't take social cues. I've had people like I'll go months without talking to them, and for some people it's cool. Like in college, definitely I think it's cool. Like if you can go months without talking to someone and then pick it back up like you never stopped, that's dope.
I think that's maturity too. Dude. A lot of people think you cut them off. In reality, like you're just busy, bro.
busy.
Yeah, like you guys are still chill, but I don't know.
But like I've had people that I'm like intentionally trying to cut off from. They're like, "Yo, can I get a ride to so and so?" It's like, no, you can't. But I think that's the big thing. It's detaching and then reminding yourself like why you detached. Because some people, like when you snap back into place, like I feel like you forget what you went through. So like it's easy to detach from someone when you're angry and upset. Like what happens when those feelings don't last 2-3 weeks later, a month later, whatever. So I think it's good to just remind yourself. I think for me that's been the biggest thing, is like reminding myself like I cut so and so off because of this, and this.
Yeah. Big question for everyone. Do you guys think it's possible to mend a toxic relationship? And if so, how?
Highly debatable.
Yeah, very.
Because again, if someone, you can sit down and talk to someone that's toxic for you, but more often than not, that never works. Again, because maybe you're just toxic for each other, or that person's toxic to everybody, or you're the one that's toxic in that relationship. So if you try to talk to someone that you think is toxic for you, and you tell them, all right, this is what's bothering me. I don't like it when you do this. It hurts when you say this and that, whatever it may be. And that person may, in that moment, for 2-3 weeks, a month maybe, in trying to keep you happy, may end up being, the ideal friend for you. And then a month later, you're back in that same toxic cycle.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's what happens more often than not. I mean, there are some people where if you talk to them, it's like, all right, you're right, let's work on this. I value your friendship, whatever it may be. But more often than not, you just have to cut it.
I think it's really hard to like come to that conclusion where you're like, okay, I have to cut this person off. But I feel like once you actually do like determine that you do come to that conclusion, that's just it. Like, I feel like from there's no coming back. That's just me. Like, I don't think you can fix that level of toxicity.
So I kind of want this debate. So I'm going to say yes. I think on my end, I've seen it both ways, right? I feel like there's some times where a relationship is just so toxic that it's playing a burden on you. And sometimes are we defining toxicity as toxic in the moment or toxic like overall?
I think in the relationship in general, right?
Yeah.
Overall, I think it depends on how receptive the person is. I think one problem though is people our age, like you can barely get over it. Like you can't even get a text conversation going sometimes. You'll get ghosted. So having an in-person conversation.
Get screenshotted.
Yeah, you get screenshotted, sent to a group chat, and you're just flaying for
Bro,
life.
I feel like at a certain point, bro, you're like trying to fix something, and you're scared to like text someone because like, where is this gonna go? Where is this gonna go? Yeah,
And
That's
I-
a red flag then, that's a
And
red
I feel like
flag.
sometimes when you're texting someone that they're texting it back to other
Oh, yeah,
people to
for
be like,
sure.
what kind of response should I send? And then
For
you
sure.
know, like that's why I think if you're trying to mend a toxic relationship, do it in person. Don't give that person out to go talk to other people, seek advice, whatever. Like for doing
Do you want
this,
that kind of friendship if you're scared of doing that?
I feel like everyone's scared to an extent, right? Like everyone's scared to an extent of saying the wrong thing or to say something that'll look bad. But I think if you can do it face to face and the person's very receptive and the change is
But you can still say something
inevitable.
wrong in person. I'm just saying if you feel the need to tell other people, or that you think that they're going to tell other people, is that a friendship you want? I think that's another toxic trait, is that you don't know what you tell
Who's it
someone.
going to? Yeah.
Who's going to go to later.
That's true.
And that could be something like you're sharing personally,
Yeah.
You don't want something that you're telling about your own life, and then like other, like, I don't know, 100 other people are like, oh yeah, did you know
that?
this?
Yeah.
And then you're like, I only told one person. Like, how did this,
What do you guys think about like more likely than not? I feel like in a toxic relationship, I feel like it goes both ways. I feel like even though you may think someone's toxic for you, I'm sure there's things that you've done that have been toxic towards them. And the thing is that they're probably not trying to be toxic towards you. It's just like, and once you bring it up, maybe change could happen. But I think it comes down to like, I agree with Muzani having the conversation.
Yeah.
And if nothing gets fixed from there, then nothing gets fixed from there, right? Then you
Then you
drop
drop
them,
it. You
like
did your
whatever,
best.
right? But at least putting in the effort. What do you guys think about putting in the effort? Like
So-
at all? Just be like, yo, I need to let you know. I need to talk to you about something.
Sometimes I just feel like you're just so put off by like everything that's already happened, so then you don't want to like go that extra mile.
Yeah.
That's just me. Like sometimes like it could be so bad that you kind of don't want to recover from it. You just want to like get that out of your life.
For me, I've had a friendship with someone, and we went through like a patch where like we weren't cool, and then I reached out. I'm like, yo, like you're being toxic. What's going on, right? And then we had a conversation, and
That's bold.
I realized it was something that I did that made them act a certain way. And then we were able to talk it out and resolve it. And I think that might just be a
And
guy
you think
thing.
it was, like,
That might just be a
resolved?
guy thing. I don't know if girls
It
are the
is. I
same.
think
Oh.
girls are just.
But then
quicker to
and then we were
grudges.
fine right after that. I was like, click,
So-
like back to normal. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And to this day, it's still fine.
It's
But I
fine.
think a lot of it
Good.
just comes down to communication,
Wait,
misunderstanding.
okay. On that note though, like the fact that person wasn't willing to tell you that whatever you did made them upset, and they were more.
Well, some
willing
people
to,
aren't confrontational, and I don't think you
Yeah,
can
but
judge
if you're
them for
more
that.
if you're more willing to ignore
Confrontation.
someone, I think that says a lot about you. Like whether it might be that you respect yourself a lot,
Yeah.
but it could also just be that they don't value enough. Like I've definitely, I'm no saint, all right? Like, I've definitely had friendships that I messed up and it was my fault, but I've definitely had friendships where the other person did me dirty and that's why I cut them off, right? So I don't think it's always a two-way street. Sometimes, yeah, that person sucks and you suck for that person, and that is just the reality of it. It happens. But I think sometimes, like, the other person just does so many bad things to you to an extent where you're like, I feel like I've let my guard down, and time again, you've made me, like, regret it.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, but I think not talking to someone, like, I've done it, but I've done it because I'm like, I know I'm never going to talk to you again for very good reasons. But if it's like, I think we're just going through a rough patch, like, I might let it be like a week or so. I'll let you,
Yeah.
you know, not be so upset, and then we can find a way to talk about it. But if it's like, if you're willing to make it a forever thing, have y'all seen that? I don't know who it is, but somebody said that, like, don't talk 24 hours after, don't talk 48 hours, don't talk 72 hours. But after 72, it's been 3 days. If you still feel how you feel, you're going to feel that way for a while. Coming back to toxic environments, what do you guys feel like are the impacts on you when you're in a toxic environment? We've talked a lot about, like, traits. We've talked a lot about, like, the impact. We've talked about how other people are bad. Like, what
Yeah.
happens to you? What do you guys go through?
Like when
Growth.
someone else is being toxic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just drained. Like I said, I'm a very like hyper energetic person. So if I don't feel that way around somebody, then I know something's like wrong here. I just feel drained.
I think there's always something to be learned. So, like, yeah, if you feel drained and it's bad in the moment, you're like, why did this happen? Like, what a waste of time, blah, blah, blah. But I think afterwards you could be like, self-growth, like, now I know what to
It
look
helps,
out for.
right?
Now I know what to look out for.
It
Now
helps.
I'm not, now, like, the next friendship I go into, if I meet someone, if I'm trying to talk to them and be their friend, like, I know, like, the social cues or things to pick up on, be like, I need to check this before I could even let you into anything in my
No,
life,
I think
you
like
know?
these bad
Your
like
guards go up.
relationships definitely like help you in the long run.
Yeah.
Because you learn from it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think like for me, I just get so irritated. I get very cranky. My anger goes out like on other people.
Yeah.
I do that
Yeah.
a lot.
I feel like I'm just angry. I
I
feel like I'm
think-
usually
yeah.
not an angry person. So then if I'm angry, like, I feel
Yeah.
like that's usually the telltale sign that, like, something's wrong. And I feel like that's what, like, most of my social circle picks up on. It's like when I'm irritated and I'm angry, like, there's a reason for that. Like, there's something
Yeah.
that's wrong.
And usually your close friends will be able to tell if you're like bothered by
Yeah, they
something, you
do.
know, and they'll call it up, be like, yo, is everything good? And then you have to reevaluate and be like, yo, everything's actually not good. Like, I need to figure this out.
There's
Yeah.
no way. As a guy, you
Yeah.
say that, though?
Oh, 100%.
Damn.
100%.
Power to you, bro.
Yeah, 100%.
Power to you.
No, it's powerful, bro. It's really powerful. You can't let, like, I feel like we had that whole episode on men's mental health and
We
like
did.
not showing any emotions for men and stuff. And I think that's something we just got to get over. We got to be able to reevaluate like when stuff's not working well and figure out why it's not working well and getting over that hump.
Yeah.
It's powerful.
I think it's always hard, man. I think we're talking about a lot of things that are difficult, like
Yeah.
confrontation, cutting people off.
Yeah.
Like, those things are tough. You know,
Yeah.
you can go to school for however long you do, but no one's ever going to teach you how to do those things.
That's facts.
Right,
Yeah,
that's-
you'll
you gotta
never
get
learn any
burned.
of
It's
that
your own
stuff. Yeah.
experience that you have
Soft
to learn
skills.
through it.
Soft skills?
Soft
man.
skills, yeah, and interpersonal skills.
Yeah. So I want to come back around and talk about advice you have for people that are in toxic environments. Like I said earlier, like, those rose-colored glasses look great, man. You never really realize it. So what's your advice for the people? Say, like, let's do advice for people on the outside, right? Like your
Yeah.
friends when they need to talk to you about it, and advice for the person on the inside when you end up just being very codependent, whether it be like a relationship or a friendship.
First, learn to detach. So for that reason, get yourself into a hobby, do something else on the side that you don't need them for, and then learn that thing on your own, whatever that may be, and then from there, just kind of learn to detach. If this is the first person you call when something something happens in your life and you're happy about it, sad about it, whatever, don't call that person. Make that your parents, family, whatever.
Anybody
I
else.
Yeah.
feel like all of like my best friends are mainly family related, like sisters, cousins. And then I
Yeah.
have like 2 to 3 that are like very close to me, and then everyone else is like good friends, close friends, acquaintances, stuff like that. So I feel like I've just kept people that I trust and I can depend on, and them to me too. Like, it's not just like a one way.
Yeah.
I feel like when friendship is just one sided, it becomes toxic in its own way. But yeah, so just kind of get yourself into another hobby, whatever it may be, and then learn to detach.
I think that other people should not be involved. You shouldn't, like, regardless if you have a problem with somebody, don't get other people involved. I feel like that's one of the biggest issues that girls have. They get so many other people involved. Like, it just shouldn't be that way. It's between you and somebody else. Just keep it like that. And I also think that you shouldn't rely on somebody else for, like you said, like, if you're really happy, you call this person. I feel like that's really good, yeah, but I feel like just don't rely on that person for, like that sort of support, you know, that emotional support.
Yeah.
I feel like that should come within
person eventually is
yourself.
gonna have their own life too.
Yeah,
like,
I feel like that should come within yourself before anything else. Like, yeah, a little bit, like, here and there, but just not too much. Like, don't overdo it. There's a fine line.
Yeah.
Jamal, tell me if you agree, because this is definitely a cliche among guys. So I gotta make sure you agree or disagree on this. I love what Nilly said about hobbies and detaching, just because I feel like, and the cliche is that when guys go through heartbreak, they go to the gym, because that's somewhere where you can be yourself and detach. Heartbreak, and I feel like it then extends to friendships, right? When you are just angry and that's all you can do, you hit the gym. Like, that might be how you build your hobby, but that's like your own place.
Yeah, it might be.
Bro, friendship breakups.
I guess it depends guy to
they're
guy,
tough.
right?
They are.
Depends guy to guy. Some people might play Call of Duty. Some people might go to the gym.
Jamal's doing a little bit of everything.
Yeah, right. I mean, I'm just gonna echo what Naj just said. Like, keep it within you and that person. I personally, like, it's hard for people, but I'm just a really confrontational person. If I have a problem with someone, I'm gonna talk to them, and like going in with an open mind, like, I'm doing this with a good intention. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. Whatever, right? But at least you get it off your chest. At least they know where you're coming from. Just being confrontational about it, putting in that effort. And if they're not willing to do the same thing, they're not willing to do the same thing. But at least you'll find out. You know.
How do you guys like what kind of advice do you give for somebody who's not that confrontational though?
Detach. Keep walking away.
Try.
If you're not confrontational, then you can keep
Yeah, like
detaching.
how do you like get yourself to be that confident?
Yeah.
Like, you know, like if there's an issue, you have to confront it. And I feel like so many people are
Yeah.
just not. They're just
feel-
like avoid
yeah,
as
I
much
mean,
as they
I
can.
I feel like the best way to do this, especially if you're someone who doesn't know how to talk.
Yeah.
Okay.
Continue though. Yeah, best way if you don't know how to talk.
Yeah, so if you don't know how to like confront someone,
Mm-hmm.
write it all down, all the problems you have, whatever you want to say, so you don't forget, and then either on a phone call, in person, whatever, and just be like, hey, this is weird, but I have like a few
I actually
notes.
used to do
I
that,
have a
so
few
I'm gonna
notes that I
expose
need to
myself.
get
I used to
out,
do that.
And then just like go down.
Yeah, I think
it's
that's fair.
better if it's over phone call, so
Yeah.
they don't see you having like your notes.
Those
in front
notes
of
in front
you.
of
But
me.
that way you don't miss anything.
I used to do the same thing.
You'll
So yes,
walk
I
up to
live
someone
by
and be
that.
like,
I
so
think that
point
works.
one, you
Slowly over
suck.
time it works.
That's such a
Yeah.
good point though, because you
Yeah,
go into
no,
arguments and be
facts.
like, wow, I wish I said this, and this.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
I
think.
wouldn't think of it as like an argument. It's more of like, okay, this is how I felt.
This is
when
the
you said
issue,
this.
yeah.
Not
I do
like
that though,
you-
yeah.
Not like you suck.
Yeah.
And you just, it's more of like, hey, like when you did this, I didn't like that.
Yeah.
Or
Mhm.
you feel that
In
way.
the
then you
moment when I'm
forget in
really
the
heated, I'll
moment.
take out my notes
I
app. I'll
forget
start writing.
everything.
Yeah, I'll just start
Yeah,
writing.
I do that.
I
I do that random. I do that random.
I
Like,
do
if I
that
went through
so
my notes, I
much.
have some random
I do too.
like
I
pet
still have
peeves.
so many long like texts like
Yeah.
saved in my notes.
Yeah, and I never
I
ended up
do
sending
too.
half of them. I just
really
like just
write
read them
everything
and then
out.
yeah.
It's
But
like,
yeah.
you just
I
need
can't
to know
believe
why
y'all
you're
do
there.
this.
oh
Exactly.
my god, I feel like it helps a lot. For
Alright.
me, it just helps
Yeah.
so much.
Yeah.
All right. Well, if you're listening, make your list. With that said, though, I feel like the biggest thing is remember, if it didn't work out, it wasn't a waste of time. You're gonna grow from it. And then
Everything
keep
happens
that in
for a
mind. Yeah,
reason.
everything happens
It
for a
does.
reason. Keep it in your mind.
For a good reason.
With that said, Nilly, thank you so much for being on today. I know
Yeah,
we're on a
it's so
random
nice having
Monday,
you.
but we appreciate having you. Definitely
Yep.
brought a lot to the conversation. I guess now I'm gonna go home and make some lists about everything I'm mad about. With that said, though, guys, thank you for being on today. We'll see you next time.
Yeah.
Peace out.